Hey there folks, today I'd like to take a casual peek into the Kubrick Watchmen 3-piece set by Medicom. This particular set is labeled Set A and is the first of two sets based on the characters from the Watchmen live-action movie. And I'm not sure when this set was first available, but based on all of the copyright information on the box, it looks like this set may have been first available in 2009, I'm not sure. And I got this set in 2012 when I saw it at a Toys R Us on clearance, and paid $12 for this set. Now, taking a look at the figures here in the box for Set A, and Set A consists of three characters here. That of the Comedian, Night Owl 2, and Ozymandias. And they look pretty nice, again based off of their live-action movie appearance, which is pretty cool. And what's really neat is behind the figures there you could see a little display of a brick wall with some graffiti on there. I believe it says "Who watches the Watchmen," so that's pretty cool. We have the side of the box here. Watchmen, justice is coming to all of us, no matter what we do. So that's pretty cool there. On the bottom, you just got some that warning information, notice information, and copyright information. On the back here, we have a promo for Set B, the second set that was available, which contains Dr. Manhattan, Rorschach, and Silk Spectre 2, which is pretty cool. Now we'll be right back and have these three figures out of the box. Okay, we're back and we have here the three Watchmen figures that are part of Set A. And they're nice figures, and they're very well sculpted, nicely painted, and they are good representations of the movie versions of the characters. Now, these are minifigs, although they're a bit bigger than the standard minifig, the standard being either a Minimate or a Lego minifig. And they're about half an inch to almost an inch taller than those figures. But I still consider them minifigures because they are smaller than the 3 3/4 inch figure. And they have that blocky design that's typical of minifigures, and that stylized sculpt. So I still consider them minifigures even though they are bigger than your typical minifigure. Now before we take a look at these three figures, let's go ahead and take a look at this here. And that's this nice little backdrop that was included in the box. It's basically a graphic of an alleyway. And it has some graffiti on it. It says, "Who watches the Watchmen?" which was a common comic slogan, you could say. During the mid to late 80s, I think it was like 86, 87, when the comic was first being released. And at the time, I wasn't even aware what that really meant. But having since learned about it, about the Watchmen, I really love this slogan. And it's actually kind of neat, and it's very well done on this graphic here as graffiti. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the three Watchmen figures here, and we'll start out with the Comedian. And of the three figures, the Comedian is probably the most detailed figure. It has lots of detail in the sculpt and paint, and even the tempo or line art there. It's actually quite neat. And starting off with the head, you could see it's that typical minifig head, cylindrical head design there, and it's done nicely. The tempo on the face is actually done pretty well. And yes, that is a cigar sticking out of his mouth. It's cool that Medicom was not PC enough to exclude the cigar. I think that's actually kind of cool. Now I can't tell if that's actually part of the sculpt or it's actually glued into there, but it's done so well it looks like it's part of the sculpt. Unfortunately, it's painted, or it's not painted, but it's cast in this yellow colored plastic, and I wish it was brown to represent more of a cigar, but it still gets that idea across that he is chewing on a cigar outside of his mouth, which is really cool, and I think that's actually kind of neat, and it's really almost an integral part of the character. And you can see the sculpt here on the rest of the head with the hair, and the hair here is actually part of the sculpt of the head as well as the ears, unlike some of the other figures where it's actually removable. But this one is actually part of the sculpt, and it's sculpted nicely and painted nicely as well. So that's kind of cool. And I really like the sculpt, or not sculpt, but the tempo on the face. You can see the actor's likeness a bit in this particular figure, and it's kind of cool, even with the eye mask there. You can tell this was the actor that portrayed the comedian. Taking a look at the rest of the figure here, you can see the bulkiness on the upper half of his torso. It's basically a separate piece, and all three figures have this to add, I guess, added definition to the upper torso area, which is nice. Adds a little bit of bulk. And along with that are his shoulder pads, which are a part of this upper torso, and you can actually remove it. Just pull off the head there, and you can see it's a separate piece of plastic, a softer piece of plastic there, and you can see that the shoulder pads are actually, looks like, tabbed and glued in on there, and it basically just sits on the shoulder and is secured into place by the head on there. So that's kind of cool. And you can see the sculpting definition on his torso here, and the straps that actually line up very well with the tampoed straps on the main torso area. Actually, on both sides, you can see they line up pretty well, which is nice. Also on the straps, you can see the smiley face button here. It's just basically a painted yellow circle. I think it was just too small to add the details of the smiley face, but do you know that reading the comic or watching the movie, that this is the smiley face button that he wore. And you can also see some more details on the tampoed areas here for the torso here, the straps and part of his suit, which is kind of cool, and also painted details on the arms for the elbow pad. And you even had a little painted detail there on the elbow pad and his gloves there. Kind of cool. Another separate piece here is the belt that he wears that have the holsters to his pistols, which is kind of cool on there. And the pistols are removable. I'm going to show you both of them are. And you can see some details on this pistol here. It's silver, and it has yet again another yellow circle, sorry, on there to represent the smiley face that were on his pistols. So that's kind of cool, and he comes with two of them, and they're both removable. And he can wield both of them as well. You simply just place the pistol into his grip there, and you can slide it into place, and he wields it fairly well on there, so which is nice. And they can be pulled in and out of the holster nicely, and once it's in the holster, it stays there pretty well, so that's kind of cool. And looking at the rest of comedian here, you can see details on the legs here and his painted on boots. So very well designed minifigure. I really do like it. Now the articulation for this minifigure and the other minifigures are essentially the same, and we'll go over just the basic articulation with the comedian here. The head is on a swivel joint, so it can go all the way around. It doesn't go up or down or side to side there. The arms are on a ball-socketed joint, but due to the shoulder armor here, it does prevent the articulation from going all the way around. You can get it about 180 degrees front to back on there, and before the armor gets in the way. And the arms do go slightly out and in, but not too much, due to the limitations of the ball socket joint there. No articulation at the elbows, but there are articulation points at the hands, basically swivel cuts, so the hands could go all the way around at the wrist. No torso articulation, and this figure is designed with waist articulation. And just pull the torso out here. You can see a cylindrical post there, or peg, and so you can swing the torso around, but because of the belt, it restricts that movement. So without the belt, you can get the figure all the way around at the torso, at the waist area. But if you've got the belt on, you're not able to move it just slightly, ever so slightly around, but not enough for posability. The legs are on a ball-socketed joint, similar to the arms, and allows the legs to go up, down, to the back, slightly out to the side, and rotational a little bit front to back, same with the arm here. No articulation points at the knees or feet. So overall, a nice mini figure of the comedian. I really do like, especially this figure with all the details on there. It's actually really well done. Oh, I forgot to mention the paint is actually well done too, although there's just a minor scratch on the star, but overall it's no bleed on there, no fuzziness that I can see. Very well painted. And that's the comedian here. Next we'll take a look at the Night Owl. Night Owl 2 to be specific. And Dan Dreiberg, and this is a nice representation of the movie Night Owl 2. Very cool, not like the comic version, which is a interesting choice, especially with this movie version. If you're familiar with the comic version, you'll know that Night Owl 2 was based off the Charlton comic character Ted Kord Blue Beetle, even down to the Archie. And in the comics it's carried out pretty well, but in the movie it looks like the similarities really have shifted to more the Batman more than Blue Beetle, especially with the design of the cowl here. You can really see what look like the cowl of the Batman, but just be aware, if you're not familiar, that the character was actually inspired from the Blue Beetle and not the Batman. But still, I actually did like the movie version of Night Owl, and it's carried out pretty well over here. You can see the goggles that Night Owl wears, painted goggle eyes over here, and you can see the sculpted strap going around his head there. And the cowl here is part of the head sculpt. You cannot remove it, which is fine by me. But you can see how the chin strap area is actually painted. It's not part of the sculpt. I'm not sure why they shifted from the sculpt to the paint there, but it's not bad. I actually don't mind it that much. And you can actually see part of the actor's likeness just based off of the mouth and chin area on there. It's actually quite close. And taking a look at the rest of the Night Owl, you can see that he is not as detailed as the comedian here. He has less going on, but he does have the shoulder and torso sculpt here to add some bulk to that. Actually kind of cool. And you can see the mantle on this particular figure here, and sculpted along with this cape. Now this cape here is made of a I would say medium grade plastic. It's actually bendable. Get it into focus here if I can. But it's still a little bit rigid on there. You can still bend it, you can, especially on the corners here, but it still retains the shape. And because of its semi-rigid nature, it does restrict a lot of the posability of Night Owl here. But the details on the cape are actually kind of nice. It's got this gloss, almost metallic brown, but not quite metallic. But you see what look like a little metallic flakes on there, and the nice sheen to the cape. It's actually pretty good. And same thing with the paint on the torso here. Not too much sculpted detail other than on the mantle area. A lot of it is painted or tampo detail. You can see a lot of the line art as the sculpt of the costume there, and some paint on the arms or elbows and on the painted gloves here. Actually kind of cool. Some sculpting detail here are on the belt area on there, which is kind of nice. Nicely detailed here with the strap on the belt and the buckle. It's actually quite cool. And then on the legs here, you got more line art on the leggings and paint on the boots on there. So as far as articulations, the same as Comedians, and pretty much all of the Kubrick figures on the points of articulation. Although the range of movement is restricted, especially at the arms, at the shoulders. You really can only get them forward. You really can't get them out too much or back because of the mantle and the cape here. And you can't rotate it, the figure on the waist because of the belt on there. So of the three, he's Night Owl here is the most restricted in the movement of articulation. The legs though are still pretty much okay on the movement there. So but pretty good sculpt of the Night Owl here. Now taking a look at Ozymandias, or is it Ozymandias? You know what, I was never sure on the pronunciation of the character, but I've always pronounced it Ozymandias, and I'm just going to stick with that because I've been saying that for years. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. I'm just sticking to it. But this is the movie version of the character, and very interesting design here. I wouldn't say it's the most divergent of the three, because Night Owl here was pretty different in the comics, but Ozymandias here is also a bit different in the comics. I think he wore more loose-fitting clothing than this armor-like piece that he has here, which I didn't really mind in the movie. And at least they were able to retain the color scheme of Ozymandias, which is what I thought was one of the requisites of the character, because Ozymandias here, in the comics, he was really decked out in purple and yellow. In the movie, it's purple and gold, which is pretty close. But I think it gets the color scheme correct for the character. And that's the thing I liked about the book and portions of the movie is the use of color. And it's an essential part of the comic series that's not really talked about. A lot of it's talked about the writing and the art, but not really much about the color. And I think the color in that comic series was done very well. If you noticed, if you read the comic, you'll notice that not very many primary colors are used. Although they used here on the Comedian, but throughout the comic, not very much is used. Non-primary colors dominated the comic series, and it got increasingly darker as the story went along. So I thought that was a really nice use of color in the series, and for Ozymandias, color I think is a part of his character, being that yellow or gold, representing wealth or power, and purple has been always traditionally been I guess closely tied to royalty, and his vision of royalty, him being almost the perfect human, using 100% of his brain. And I think that these colors fit him very well. But taking a look at the Ozymandias figure here, and you can see it does represent him very well in this more armored form in the movie. And starting out with some details on the head sculpt, you can see he's wearing his mask there. And this is the one figure out of the three that has a removable hair on there, and I'm not sure why that is. But he does have removable hair. and you can see that the hair and the ears come off, and there's what looks like a peg hole underneath, but no post at the top. But it sits there actually quite lightly. It doesn't go down very well to his head, but it's secure enough where it doesn't fall off. So that's good. You can see the details of his hair here. You can see the ears and the circlet, or semi-circlet, that he wears around his head. It's sculpted nicely and painted in gold. Actually kind of nice, and separated from his blondish colored hair there. So that's kind of cool, and the likeness to the actor is pretty good. You can see the actor's likeness a bit on the face, which is nice. One thing I do notice, this figure's head sits closer to the torso compared to the actor. The actor had a little bit of a longer neck that I noticed, but it doesn't carry off on the figure on there. But if you move the figure up, the head up slightly, you can see he has a bit of a choker on there. So that's nicely painted on there. Push that back down. And you can see the details of his upper torso here. You can see the armored underneath the mantle here, even sculpt of nipples, much like the bat suit from the Schumacher bat films. But I like what Schumacher has, I guess, given as an excuse. It's supposed to represent armor like the Romans or the Greeks. And Ozymandias has always been a follower of like Alexander the Great and mythos. I guess he would wear similar armor like the ancient Greeks did. So he's got sculpted armor with sculpted nipples there. And you can see the mantle here goes all the way around. It's made of a nice, I guess, harder plastic, like the other figures with their upper torsos, and painted very nicely in gold. No bleed whatsoever. And you can see his cape here, very nice, painted in almost purplish brownish color, but you can see the purple. It's not easy to see through the screen, but in person it's a nice purplish brownish color on there, and it looks like almost metallic as well, just like night owls. And you can see also here slightly, even slighter purple here, almost grayish here on the torso for his body armor here. And also he has here a waist area as well that's covered in almost like a mythological drab, I would think almost like a Egyptian type style on the groin covering area, and it's a mixture of purple and gold, and that's actually kind of nice. And you got more line art on the legs, similar to his body armor at the top here, and gold boots painted in gold there. So really nicely done. And like Night Owl, his articulation is similarly restricted due to the mantle and his cape on there. So, and also restricted at the waist due to the big, I guess, skirt almost like area here that he wears. So, but still a nice representation of the movie Ozymandias figure. And for all three figures, in fact, and I really do like these Watchmen Kubrick figures, and they're very close to the sculpt, and I've been on a minifigure kick, so I've been enjoying these quite a bit. This is my casual peek into the Kubrick Watchmen three-piece set, Set A. Very nice set. I recommend getting it, especially on clearance at Toys R Us. This is my casual peek into them, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.